Well, in the United Kingdom, Oxford University says the trial of their COVID-19 vaccine, of course the very same one that is being tested in South Africa, appears safe and can train the immune system. The study, with over 1,000 participants, shows that the vaccine has led to the creation of antibodies and a T-cell response that can fight the coronavirus. These findings are considered a breakthrough in the vaccine development, but Oxford says it's too early to establish if the drug offers enough protection. Let's discuss now. We're joined by Stuart Smith, our UK correspondent. Stuart, great to have you with us. So this is a major milestone for the research and development of a COVID-19 vaccine. Of course, it's early days, but take us through what has been found, how the drug behaved in these participants.
Yeah, so like you said, it's 1,000 people, which is a small study, and why they're doing more. But let's take a look at exactly what's going on. This vaccine is designed to promote the creation of T cells, white blood cells, and also antibodies. And those two together will help fight the virus in someone's body. And especially these white blood cells, these T cells, they're really important for allowing the vaccine to remain and be effective over a longer period of time, and this vaccine managed to stimulate both of those in participants' bodies. There were some side effects, but they were described by the researchers as minor, things like fever and things like headache, which the scientists said was easily solved with simple paracetamol. This was not a major problem, and so they've concluded there are no severe side effects to this drug based on these phase 1 trials.
Okay, but like you say, it's phase 1, and there still has to be a lot more evidence until we can say this works against COVID-19. Any idea of timeline here?
Yeah, so indeed a lot more evidence, and not just more people being exposed to it, but also checking that this virus works for a varied number of people. That's what these phase 3 studies are all about. And they're now trying it on tens of thousands of people in different countries, obviously South Africa, but also Brazil, and continuing to test it in the UK. They're also allowing children to be tested with the vaccine, as well as the elderly population. And in terms of the timeline, well, they're currently looking at late August to early September for the results of this phase 3 trial. That's the last advanced human clinical trial. There'll then be a few more tests and studies, but the Health Secretary here in the UK, Matt Hancock, says we could be looking, if all goes to plan, if all goes very, very well, we could be looking at manufacture of this vaccine in October.
Wow, that's much better than a lot of the predictions around when a vaccine could be available. And I understand the UK has already ordered a whole batch, 100 million doses. So is that a sign of confidence in this vaccine?
Yes, well, it's certainly a sign of hope, I would say, in the vaccine. But also today, the UK government went to purchase a vaccine from France and Germany. They ordered 90 million doses from those two countries. So they're certainly plugging their own vaccine, but they're looking at alternatives as well, just in case. And I think the government's thinking that's the responsible thing to do. But indeed, 100 million reserved for the UK, 400 million going to the US, 400 million to Europe as well. Lots of countries are pre-ordering vaccines just like this, and so the UK is simply hedging its bets, not just on its own, but making sure it has access to other potential vaccines as well.
Yeah. The problem is if countries do that, then less developed countries without the cash, without the connections, could be left behind. And there's this whole talk of equitable distribution. Has there been talk of how this vaccine could be shared more equitably around the world? And let's consider us in South Africa who are helping to test this vaccine.
Yes, there certainly has been, and actually the UK government is very keen that that happens. First of all, it's worth saying that Oxford University will not profit from this vaccine directly. They want to make sure that this is sold at cost, and they're partnering with AstraZeneca, a UK pharmaceutical company, who are also producing it at cost. They won't be making money from it. But what the government here wants to achieve is that this vaccine is available to a broad array of people, not just the United States, not just Europe, but also developing countries too. And they're doing that in a couple of ways. ways. One is 1 billion doses have been guaranteed for India. And as part of that contract, India and AstraZeneca have arranged that low and middle income countries will have some of those 1 billion doses. But there's another route as well. The Gavi Vaccine Alliance, as well as CEPI, they're two charities which specialise in distributing vaccines, and they've pre-ordered 300 million doses of this one being trialled here. Part of the money for that came from the UK government, but most countries around the world fund these two charities, and so they're going to try and make sure that 300 million doses make it to countries around the world that, like you say, would not have the resources or the money to be able to get this vaccine themselves.
Yeah, and even then, countries will have to decide who gets it first. Any talk on that?
The only thing which has been discussed about which country gets it first is the first 30 million doses of this virus will go to the UK. After that, it's not clear whether there are some arrangements we don't know about. I'm not sure. Yeah. But the only public thing we know is that the first 30 million doses go to the UK, and then AstraZeneca, the pharmaceutical company, is going to go ahead and produce 2 billion. How they're distributed around the world, that's not known.
Yeah, and a lot of experts saying health workers should be prioritised then within those countries. Finally, Stuart, if this works to plan and the way you've described it in a philanthropic way, this will really put the UK on the map, helping the world with COVID-19. Is there huge excitement in the country because of this?
There certainly is amongst the government. Boris Johnson gave a statement, or rather, he tweeted after the announcement of this latest result and said he's very proud of the Oxford scientists and huge congratulations. And of course, part of that is it does look great for the United Kingdom. And certainly, as you were saying, these doses will be given to the most vulnerable first. People like the National Health Service workers who have been clapped every Thursday for a large part of this pandemic period. They will be prioritised as they are most likely to get it, as well as the elderly and people with existing health issues. So indeed, it's a big bonus for the UK to be able to say we're the ones who got the vaccine first. And as well as that, it's probably quite simply cheaper and easier to get a vaccine if the country you're in made it itself.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much, Stuart Smith, live for us from London, our UK correspondent there. We stay looking at global news. Let's come a bit closer to home. Nigeria